Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Just a reminder to go onto roguematter.com right now. We've got tons of comics and ebooks and videos that are absolutely free to read. Making Markham, issues 1 to 3, 1, 2, and 3. All there. Complete story, beginning, middle, and end for free. Go read it. Coming out next week is Time Trader #1. That was created by yours truly. It's about a young upstart with the ability to rewind time, goes to the stock market to try and cash in, discovers it's run by an Illuminati of people just like him. That's coming out next week, Time Trader #1. And we've got McBride and Groom. We've got tons of stuff. It's all free. Go to roguematter.com and you can enjoy it right now. Okay. Doing a segment now. I got to be honest, Hassan, I was surprised when you sent me this article because we've talked about predictions on the show. And this article is all about box office predictions for 2022. I will eat this stuff up all day long. I love it. I love
That's
being
why
able
I sent it to you.
share.
What's I sent it to you because that's why I sent it to you because I knew you'd eat it up. I don't have a dog in the prediction hunt. I really don't.
But by sending it to me, you've essentially blessed me doing this on the show. Now it's like I have to.
You do whatever you want, man. I mean, like I'll try to be present when you do it.
So they broke this down. They broke it down as a sure thing, a safe bet, and a question mark, right? So kind of in 3 categories they picked, and we'll try to stick with. We'll try to stick with genre stuff, stuff that we more or less seem to comment on a lot because there's a couple movies in here that I think we can probably gloss over if we don't mention it. But starting right away with a film that I think is a curious one, but is listed under the sure thing, The Batman. Now this is a sure thing. It's a comic book adventures have essentially been pandemic proof at the box office, and Batman is one of the most ubiquitous masked heroes on the planet. Add Robert Pattinson as a moody, enigmatic Caped Crusader and Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and yeah, this movie is going to be huge. Do you agree or disagree that this is a sure thing at the box office?
I disagree. Nothing is a sure thing.
Aside from that, nothing is a sure thing.
If you're going to ask me like
probability
questions like that, yeah,
probability.
See, that's the thing. No,
I'm gonna say it's a sure thing. It's going to have a very strong opening weekend, but then it's going to come down to how well Robert Pattinson fits behind the cape and cowl. It really falls on his shoulders.
I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to do really well, and I think it's going to usher in the new era of Batman. Simply because of this. The same reason that I was one of the few people who wasn't worried when I heard that they had cast Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah.
I'm like, obviously there's a reason why they cast him.
Yeah.
He's such an unclear choice to play that role. Just like Robert Pattinson. Such an unclear choice to play the role that there must have been something that he was able to do that wowed people into believing that he could be the Batman, just like Heath Ledger was able to be the Joker. So I think it's going to be fine. I think it's very ambitious. I think the fact that it's almost like 3 hours, if not a little 3 hours. I've liked the trailers. My only issue with the trailers are the whole thing, and this is the only thing that could tank it potentially. Other than it being absolute garbage, which it could be,
obviously, we don't know what it's going to be. It's going to fall on the shoulders of the content, sure.
But I think Batman fatigue might tank it. I mean, I think Gotham fatigue. I think the fact that this brooding guy who's going out to stop everybody because killed his dad and his mom in the movie theater, and we're gonna have to see that all over again. And he's all angsty, and I think that could kill it. I think if you don't have some kind of new energy element to go with the the motif, the very well established motif of the Dark Knight in rundown Gotham. I think if you don't have some kind of new spark to it, it could probably very easily be
Yeah, see, I agree.
blend in with the Nolan stuff, and I think Nolan put such a severe that's probably the wrong adjective for it, but such a severe stamp on it, on the Batman thing, on the Batman aesthetic, that it's going to be difficult for any film to come along and not be compared. And I think that's what was a big success with the Affleck Batman.
Yeah.
Is that I wasn't thinking Nolan at all while watching it. Now mileage varies on whether that kind of Batman does it for certain people. It was one of my favorites, very much out of the Frank Miller book of Batman. But this Patterson Batman is going to flirt very hard with the Nolan aesthetic. You can see that already in the trailer.
I don't put this as a sure thing. I really don't. If I was to put it anyway, I'd actually put it in question mark. I really would. It's not a safe bet, and it's not a sure thing. I think it all falls down to what happens with Pattinson and how well we take to him. And so, quite frankly, this is a question mark for me. Box office wise, I think it's a question mark.
Well, I mean, when it pertains to that question, though, in and of itself, I'm not really worried, because I think he wouldn't have gotten the job if he couldn't do the job in this particular. Batman is such a thing that you wouldn't just let's just throw someone in there and just see if we can do it. So,
yeah. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and they actually threw together all of the MCU releases into this one. Marvel's Doctor Strange sequel immediately follows the events of December's billion-dollar grossing Spider-Man No Way Home, which cracked open the multiverse so all manner of previous Spider-Man characters could play together. This movie has multiverse in the title, suggesting variant versions of all kinds of MCU characters could be on deck for appearances. On top of that, Scarlet Witch is carrying over the events from her Emmy-winning Disney Plus hit, WandaVision. Didn't know it won any Emmys. Maybe costume. Plus, Marvel tapped Sam Raimi, author of the original Spider-Man trilogy, to direct, and Michael Waldron, head writer of Loki, to write the screenplay. So there will be some cohesiveness in it. The only cause of concern, they wrote, was that the first Doctor Strange movie is among Marvel's lowest grossing blockbusters. And the film was still shooting in Los Angeles through December 2021, causing Marvel to push its release date from February to May. I'm going to go under the category of sure thing. I don't see this as not being a sure thing. I don't see this as... Look, it's Marvel, right? They've pretty much proven that anything they put their stamp on when it comes to theaters is going to be a big hit at the box office. And even if it is one of their lowest grossing films, I think the cachet of having him in Spider-Man, which was one of the highest grossing ones, is going to carry over. I don't see this. I see this as nothing less than a sure thing.
Outstanding production design was the Emmy that WandaVision won.
There we go. That was excellent, by the way, the production design.
I mean, yeah, it's going to do well. It's going to be fine.
Sure
It'll
thing
be
or safe bet? No?
No.
All right.
No, you're not getting me on that binary crap. But I think it's going to do fine. If you want,
those are the two positive ones. It's basically kind of like a hot, medium, and cold. And I'm going to go. I'm going hot take. I think it's a short bet.
I don't break things down like that. Like, I don't break down like I'm liking Peacemaker, but not as much as Boba Fett. I mean, like, I don't get judging things on that level. I don't judge people who judge things on that level, but I just don't, and so therefore, like, is this going to be seriously hot or is this going to be lukewarm? I don't know. It's going to do well. It'll be fine.
Okay. Jurassic World. What looks strong despite 3 decades passing since the original Jurassic Park.
Yeah, but the last two were like billion-dollar movies.
The 2015 sequel and its 2018 follow-up each devoured more than $1 billion globally, cementing the science fiction action series as one of Hollywood's biggest film franchises. I gotta say, they have it under the sure thing. I will put it as a safe bet, only because the way movie theaters have now transformed, they are big event movies. There's nothing bigger. Look, my son, he's 5 years old, friggin' loves dinosaurs. I think just dinosaurs are just something that all kids, especially young boys, just love. And as they grow up, I don't think there's any level of losing interest in them. And theaters are made for big spectacles. So I'm going to put this under a I'll put this under a safe bet that it's going to do really well.
That's fair. I think it will do well, but I don't go safe bet or sure thing.
Okay.
F that.
Okay.
F those parameters. But I think it'll do
yes.
fine.
But this is what Variety did. So we're commenting on Variety.
Yeah, Varieties, but they're fools.
That's fair enough. All right. The final sure thing under their so these are all things they consider to be sure things.
That's fine. Okay? That's fine.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Yeah, sure thing. I don't think there's any doubt it is going to be a sure thing.
Okay, see now we're because of the original didn't really do that well at the box office. It was critically acclaimed out the wazoo and it won an Academy Award, but
in the process it grossed an unexpected $375.5 million worldwide and won the Oscar.
They expected it to do more than that though. They expected it to go higher. No, according to Variety, they didn't. But according to just about every other piece of paraphernalia that I read on it at the time when it came out, it wasn't a box office blowout, is how it was described. Okay. So, but 300 million for an animated movie is fantastic.
Close to 400, yeah.
So I think the second one will do just the same, especially also everything I've heard about Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
And the extravaganza that Arcane has become, they said this is the greatest animation since Into the Spider-Verse. So Into the Spider-Verse still is the only other piece of animated paraphernalia that was mentioned in the praise and consistently mentioned in praise of Arcane. So that Into the Spider-Verse has a huge market share. Mm-hmm. Of whatever the new craze for animation is going to be, whatever fortiche, whatever they have unlocked in changing the game for animation, Into Spider-Verse does really have a significant place in the Hall of Fame on that. So the second one coming up, I'm pretty sure animation enthusiasts are going to be there in droves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure that it's going to do well.
I think so too. Into the safe bet category, Mission Impossible 7. What looks strong is 2018's Mission Impossible Fallout earned some of the best reviews in the series' history.
Great movie.
Grossing $800 million, close to it worldwide. Fallout's core creative team has returned, including writer-director Christopher McQuarrie and co-stars Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, and Vanessa Kirby. I gotta tell you, I would.
They're making 2 more, aren't they? I think 7 and 8 simultaneous.
Yes, but I think this is the one that's actually releasing in September.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They put this under safe bet. I will agree, but I would almost put it under a sure thing. I think fans have just. This is a franchise that, again, fits what the movie theater experience has become, which is larger than life, and. At this point, this and Fast and the Furious movies, I'm just never surprised that they do like gangbusters.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be $1 billion movie, but I think it's going to do really well, justifying the next one, which will already be half, if not totally in the can when it comes out. It'll be fine. They'll do all right. They'll do good.
This falls under safe bet. The Flash, releasing November 4th.
I don't know about that.
Strong. More multiversal shenanigans as a pretext for some deep dish nostalgia, this time in the DC Comics realm. Barry Allen, as played by Ezra Miller, runs back in time to prevent his mother's murder, but in doing so, he splinters his timeline and finds himself face-to-face with Michael Keaton's version of Bruce Wayne from 1989's Batman and Batman Returns.
I think that's what's going to do it.
Right.
It's going to do it.
It is, director Andy Muschietti, fresh from directing the It movies to $1.1 billion in global box office, cast Sasha Calle as the first big screen Supergirl, and some other DC Universe stars are set to reprise their roles, including Michael Shannon as General Zod and Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne from Barry's cinematic universe. I'm gonna say this is
my favorite Batman.
This is a safe bet as well. The only reason I don't put this in the sure thing category, because all this sounds delicious, right? This sounds like stuff that we as fans of this stuff would just devour, like Michael Keaton, who would have thought I'd say this? Ben Affleck, like, I can't wait to see it. Like, I can't wait to see these guys. But I'm going to say it's a safe bet, not a sure thing, because it's DC, right?
I would say yes,
not
but I think Zack Snyder's return to form, with not only Justice League but also the Vegas Dead movie, which I forget the name of it. Vegas Dead. I think that, I think a lot of things are going to go off. I think the political situation with Joss Whedon is going to be a factor into it. I think there's going to be, I think since this movie readily acknowledges the Snyderverse, but it's also credibly a kind of a gateway out of the Snyderverse without destroying the Snyderverse, there's a potential for this movie to be really big. There's a potential for Snyder supporters to be really, to be really diligent in supporting it. And the fact that Ezra Miller is going to be a brand new Flash, that we haven't seen him on his own, and he hasn't really, there's some controversy surrounding him, but he hasn't really been controversial as pertaining to fans. Again, Ben Affleck's Batman's going to be in it, but also Michael Keaton, first time back as Batman since Batman Returns. That's going to, I'm sure the movie's going to short shrift us, and he's going to be in it for 6 seconds, and he's going to be in a tuxedo with and he's not even going to be Batman in it, that because they do stuff like that. But I think just the idea that we'll get him as Batman again is going to be pretty big. And if they handle it correctly and they do a good job, the sky's the limit. It could be Wonder Woman or Aquaman. Yeah.
All right. We're going to go. We've got 2 more, maybe 3. No, we got 3 more. And this is, we'll wrap this up kind of quick. Avatar 2. They have this listed as a safe bet. I'm actually, without going into too much detail about it, I'm going to put this under question mark. I don't think it's a safe bet. Only because it's been 13 years since the original came out. When I think back to Avatar, I think of an enjoyable film experience. I think really cool technology, but what set it apart for me was that it was the first modern 3D experience. It was more about the experience than the actual storyline. I honestly don't really care too much about the characters. Again, did I enjoy it? Absolutely. Did I walk around going like, wow, what an amazing story that was? I walked out going like, holy cow, those 3D glasses were unbelievable. Could you believe that we were seeing that stuff like that? And could you believe that they were able to project, the technology on screen? Like, it was more of a technical and experience for me rather than they don't ever have to put another Avatar out. And I would never sit there and go like, oh man, they're really missing out because man, I can't even remember what happened. It's been 13 years and I didn't walk out of the theater being that bowled over. I think it's a question mark more than anything else.
I don't bet against James Cameron ever, so it'll be fine.
Got it. All right. I love it. Morbius. This is now.
If you want to think about it, when they brought it out again, so it could beat Endgame. So they brought it out. It skyrocketed yet again, and that was the original, and that was less than that was 10 years after, right?
Okay.
So they've been waiting for the sequel for a long time. There's a totally opportunity that it's gonna tank, and that Cameron's gonna blow it, but he hasn't blown it yet. So
all right.
He's earned enough goodwill from me to predict that he will do well.
Okay. Morbius. Now they have this under a question mark, and what looks strong, Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage demonstrated that Sony doesn't need Spider-Man to make a major Marvel hit, and the studio hopes that trend continues with Morbius. The cause for concern is that Morbius is not nearly as well known or beloved as Venom, and unlike Sony's recent Spider-Man movies, Morbius was not produced by Marvel Studios and is not part of the MCU, despite Keaton's curious involvement and shots in the trailer that include posters of Spider-Man in the background, although they did answer that question in Spider-Man Homecoming. So it's maybe not connected directly, but it exists in a universe that could have different versions of characters that we've seen. So I don't think that's as much to worry about. But The one major cause for concern is Tom Holland's Peter Parker almost certainly won't be swinging into this movie. They have this under question mark. I have this under question mark. I don't disagree. Venom is one of those Deadpool-esque characters that fandom has just grown to love. The comic book fandom has grown to love, and that has transferred over. Morbius is obviously not. Morbius was a recurring Spider-Man nemesis, sometimes friend. Kudos to them for trying to make a cool vampire movie, which is what I hope they try to do with this, in the vein of how Blade was a cool vampire hunter movie. But ultimately, I would say question mark. I have no idea how this is going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I won't bet against it because of Venom. So you never know. But I'm not interested. I couldn't care less whether it does well or not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree. Well, it's interesting if you're a fan of this kind of stuff in terms of branching out. It's definitely something that I mean,
I don't hope against it.
Right.
But I don't know.
Finally,
if it was Morbius versus Blade, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
That's true, actually.
In a heartbeat.
The final movie, Uncharted, and this is actually coming out, so we're going to get an answer to this very, very
This
quickly.
is Friday, right? This is
February
Friday,
18th, actually. February 18th.
Okay.
So
not this Friday.
The reason I bring this up is it was part of the video game series Uncharted, and it's about dashing treasure hunter Nathan Drake.
It's the male Tomb Raider.
Yes.
it's a guy Tomb Raider.
And it stars Tom Holland, who right now is technically the biggest movie star in the world because of Spider-Man.
He's doing all right. He's doing okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Cause for concern, this is according to Variety. For one, video game adaptions other than some of the Resident Evil movies and maybe Sonic the Hedgehog have basically never worked. For another, at 25, Holland is at least 10 years younger than Drake was in the video games, but I mean, who really cares about that? And while Holland's Spider-Man movies have all been blockbusters, he has struggled to connect in films that have nothing to do with superheroes. I think this is a huge question mark. I think video game adaptions, the audience for video games, the audience who play video games, they don't always come out in the theaters. It's almost counterintuitive to not be in control of what happens to the character now that video games have become such narrative pieces themselves. So I think there's a component to that. It's got to be a cool movie for moviegoers to come out. I don't think you can depend on a video game audience to come out. And I actually think Tom Holland, while he is technically the biggest movie star in the world, is in a little bit of a quandary. I saw the trailer for this, and I go, that looks cool. That's Spider-Man. I think he's trapped right now in the fact that he is Spider-Man. I almost kind of don't want to see him, and this is my own personal opinion. I just don't want to see him as anything but Spider-Man. I just know him as Spider-Man. It's going to take something truly different for him to break away from being, in my mind, typecast. And I'm projecting my own thoughts as to what an audience might also perceive. So I would say question mark. Big question mark for this movie.
I think it'll do okay. But, I mean, look, it could suffer pandemic curse because it's kind of an unknown. It's not a widely known, it's not an Indiana Jones movie, but it's trying to be.
Yep.
But look, it might be people are looking for brand new action adventure stories. It's probably politically safe for general audiences to be able to watch. So, I mean, there's a very good chance people are going to be, by February, people are going to be looking for something to escape to that they could probably bring a lot of people to, their families to, and whatever. That could be it. Because a lot of these other things are kind of controversial. Like, it's questionable whether you're going to bring your kid to see Batman or Jurassic Park, because it might be violent, even though it probably won't be. Mm-hmm. Some of these other things, like, Morbius, you're not going to take your kid to see a vampire movie, even if it is for Sony. But you might go take them into a kind of raucous action adventure story about archaeology. Maybe a kid will learn something also. So there's that factor to key into that, and it might be bigger than we think it is. The Uncharted video game series is pretty huge.
Yeah,
pretty huge. So and they've been talking about this movie for ages. So
Yeah.
it's sort of anticipated. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
think
All
it'll
right,
do
what do you
okay.
guys think? That was sure thing, safe bet, or big fat question mark.
Or
I'm going to
meh
rename that segment though.
from
I want
Hassan.
to. I think we should do it in movie theater terms, like butter my popcorn, or
No.
or bring an outside food or beverage.
That was funnier. Butter my popcorn is a euphemism. It's a terrible euphemism for
not good, right?
many other things. No, it's not.
It sounded better in my head than when it actually came
Yeah,
out.
until you said it, and then it was like,
it
no.
out
But I
loud.
mean, bring in outside food. That strikes a chord. So
Okay.
we'll use that.
We'll work on the tweaking. But what do you guys think? Sure thing, safe bet, big fat question mark. Let us know in the comment feed. When we come back, we're going to do a Rogue Rage rebuttal. It's going to be very exciting. What does that mean? I'll have to find out
Even I don't know.
in 30 seconds. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.